Ezekiel 37 to 39. The hand of Yahweh was on me, and he brought me out in the Ruach Adonai, and set me down in the middle of the valley. And it was full of bones. And he caused me to pass by them all around, and behold, they were very many in the open valley, and behold, they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, Adonai, Yahweh, you know. He said to me, Prophesy over these bones, and tell them, You dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. This is what Adonai Yahweh says to these bones. Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you will live. I will lay sinews on you, and bring flesh up on you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you will live. Then you will know that I am Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded. As I prophesied, there was a nose, and behold, a rattling. Then the bones came together, bone to its bone. And I saw, and behold, there were sinews on them, and flesh came up, and skin covered them above. Then there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, Prophesy to the wind, prophesy, son of man, and tell the wind, This is what Adonai says. Adonai Yahweh says, Come from the four winds, breathe and breath on these slain, so that these may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up on their feet, an exceedingly great army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried up, and our hope is lost. We are completely cut off. Therefore prophesy and tell them, This is what Adonai Yahweh says. Behold, I will open your graves and cause you to come out of your graves, my people, and I will bring you into Eretz Yisrael. You will know that I am Yahweh. When I have opened your graves and caused you to come up out of your graves, my people, I will put my Ruach in you, and you will live. Then I will place you in your own land, and you will know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, says Yahweh. The word of Yahweh came to me again, saying, You, son of man, take one stick and write on it, for Judah, and for the sons of Israel, for his companions. Then take another stick and write on it, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. Then join them for yourself to one another into one stick, that they may become one in your hand. When the children of Israel, your people, speak to you, saying, Will you not show us what you mean by these? Tell them, This is what Adonai Yahweh says. Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel and his companions, and will put them in it with the stick of Judah, and will make them one stick, and they will be one in my hand. The sticks on which you write will be on your hand before their eyes. Say to them, This is what Adonai Yahweh says. Behold, I will take the sons of Israel from among the nations where they have gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. I will make them one nation in the land, on the mountains of Israel. One king will be king to them all. They will no longer be two nations, and will no longer be divided into two kingdoms. They will not defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of their dwelling places, in which they have sinned, and will cleanse them, so they will be my people, and I will be their God. My servant David will be king over them, and they all will have one shepherd, and they will also walk in my ordinances, and observe my statutes, and do them. They will dwell in the land I have given to Jacob my servant, in which your fathers lived, and they will dwell therein, they and their children, and their children's children forever. And David my servant will be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of shalom with them. It will be an everlasting covenant with them. I will place them, multiply them, and will set my sanctuary among them forevermore. My tent also will be with them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. And the nation will know that I am Yahweh, who sanctifies Israel when my sanctuary is among them forevermore. The word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Gog, in the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, This is what Adonai Yahweh says. Behold, I am against you, Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and I will turn you around and put hooks in your jaws and bring you out with all your armies, horses, and horsemen, all them clothed with full armor, and great company with buckler and shield, all of them handling swords, Persia, Cush, and Put, with them all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer, and all his hordes, the house of Togarmah, in the utmost parts of the north, and all his hordes, many peoples with you. Be prepared, yes, prepare yourself, you and all your companies who are assembled to you, and be a guard to them. After many days you will be visited. In the end of years you will come into the land that is brought back from the sword, that is gathered out of many peoples on the mountains of Israel, which you have been a continual waste. But it is brought out of the peoples, and they will dwell securely, all of them. You will ascend, you will come like a storm, you will be like a cloud to cover the land, you and all your hordes, the many peoples with you. This is what Adonai Yahweh says. It will happen in that day that things will come into your mind, and you will devise an evil plan. You will say, I will go up to the land and unwailing villages. I will go up to those who are at rest, who dwell securely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take the plunder and to take prey, to turn your hand against the waste places that are inhabited, and against the peoples who are gathered out of the nations, who have gotten livestock and goods, who dwell in the middle of the earth, Sheba and Dedan, the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions in it, will ask you, Have you come to take the plunder? Have you assembled your company to take the prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away livestock and goods, to take great plunder? Therefore, Son of man, prophesy and tell Gog, This is what Adonai Yahweh says. In that day, when my people Israel dwells securely, will you not know it? You will come from the place out of the uttermost parts of the north, you and many peoples with you, all of them, riding on horses, a great company and a mighty army. You will come against my people Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It will happen in the end of days that I will bring you against my land, and the nations may know me, when I am sanctified in you, Gog, before their eyes. This is what Adonai Yahweh says. Are you he whom I speak in old times by my servants, the prophets of Israel, who prophesied in those days for years that would bring you against them? It may happen in that day, when Gog comes against Eretz Yisrael, says Adonai Yahweh, that my wrath will come upon my nostrils. For in my jealousy and in my fire, in my wrath I have spoken. Surely in that day there will be great shaking in Eretz Yisrael, in that the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the animals of the field, all creeping things who creep on the earth, and all the men who are on the surface of the earth will shake in my presence. Then the mountains will be thrown down, the steep places will fall, and every wall will fall to the ground. I will call for a sword against him to all my mountains, says Adonai Yahweh. Every man's sword will be against his brother. I will enter into judgment with him, with pestilence and with blood. I will rain on him, on the hordes, and with many peoples who are with him, the overflowing shower with great hailstones, fire, and sulfur. I will magnify myself, sanctify myself, and make myself known in the eyes of many nations. Then they will know that I am Yahweh. And you, son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say, This is what Adonai Yahweh says. Behold, I am against you, Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. I will turn you around, and will lead you on, and will cause you to come up from the uttermost parts of the north. I will bring you into the mountains of Israel. I will strike your bow out of your left hand, and will cause your arrows to fall out of your right hand. You will fall by the mountains of Israel, you and all your hordes, and the peoples who are with you. I will give you to the ravenous birds of every sort, and to the animals of the field to be devoured. You will fall on the open field, for I have spoken it, says Adonai Yahweh. I will send a fire on Magog and to those who dwell securely in the islands. Then they will know that I am Yahweh. I will make my holy name known among my people Israel. I will not allow my holy name to be profaned anymore. Then the nations will know that I am Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, it comes, and it will be done, says Adonai Yahweh. This is the day about which I have spoken. Those who dwell in the cities of Israel will go out and will make fires of the weapons and burn them, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows, the arrows, and the war clubs and the spears, and they will make the fire with them for 7 years, so that they will take no wood out of the field and not cut down any out of the forest. They will make fires with the weapons, and they will plunder those who plunder them and rob those who rob them, says Adonai Yahweh. It will happen in that day that I will give to Gog a place for burial in Israel, in the valley of those who pass through it on the east of the sea, and it will stop those who pass through. They will bury Gog and all of his multitude there, and they will call it the valley of Hamon Gog. The house of Israel will be burying them for 7 months. Then they may cleanse the land. Yes, all the peoples of the land will bury them, and they will become famous in the day that I will be glorified, says Adonai Yahweh. They will set apart men of continual employment who will pass through the land, and those who pass through will go with those who bury those who remain in the surface of the land to cleanse it. After the end of 7 months they will search. Those who pass through the land will pass through, and when anyone sees a man's bones, then he will set up a sign by it until the undertakers have buried it in the valley of Hamon Gog. Hamanah will also be the name of the city. Thus they will cleanse the land. You, son of man, this is what Adonai Yahweh says. Speak to the birds of every spot and every animal of the field. Assemble yourself and come together. Come gather yourself on every side to my sacrifice that I sacrifice for you, even a great sacrifice on the mountains of Israel, that you may eat meat and drink blood. You shall eat the flesh of the mighty and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of rams, of lambs, of goats, of bulls, of all the fatlings of Bashan. You shall eat fat until you are full, and drink blood until you are drunk. And my sacrifice, which I have sacrificed for you, you shall be filled at my table with the horses and chariots, with mighty men, and with all the men of war, says Adonai Yahweh. I will set my glory among the nations. Then all the nations will see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid on them. So the house of Israel will know that I am Yahweh, their God. For that day and forward, the nations will know the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they transgressed against me, and I hid my face from them. So I gave them to the hand of their adversaries, and they all fell by the sword. I did to them according to their uncleanliness and according to their transgressions, and I hid my face from them. Therefore this is what Adonai Yahweh says. Now I will revise the captivity of Jacob and have mercy on the whole house of Israel, and I will be jealous for my holy name. They will bear their shame and all their trespasses by which they have trespassed against me, when they dwell securely in the land, and no one will make them afraid, when I have brought them back from the peoples and gathered them out of their enemies' hands, out of their enemies' lands, and I am sacrificed in them in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am Yahweh, their God, and that I caused them to go into captivity among the nations, and gathered them in their own land. Then I will leave none of them captive any more, and I will not hide my face from them any more, for I have poured out my ruach on the house of Israel, says Adonai Yahweh.